What is up, folks? It's over 100 degrees outside, and this is part 2 of my real-world review of the Godox S30 Light Kit. If you missed part 1, there'll be a link up here and down in the description below. I highly recommend you checking out part 1 if you haven't already, because it is a full-on walkthrough tutorial of everything you get in this full Godox S30 3-piece light kit, as well as checking out all the specs that these awesome little 30-watt LEDs have to offer. Since the release of part 1 last week, I assembled an awesome cast and crew, and we went out and shot a little 5-page script using only the Godox S30 Light Kit.
All right, and that's where we'll end that, right? Okay, so everything is good. Yeah, so you know your cue, Kate. What is it, Tristan?
Do you want me to start out invisible and then peek?
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, because I had you walk away to bring her in. So I gotta find a moment for you to come back in. So actually, let me look at the script real quick, Tristan, the words. So she says,
She said this.
Mr. Varian, yeah. So basically, when Beverly's talking, Kate, when Beverly's saying all of her stuff, and she brings it up about the check, that's perfect motivation for you to jump in and be like, hey, you know what, about that money, you know?
Okay.
So let's try that. And so we'll start you from jumping up into it, Scott.
Yep.
And action and rehearsal.
Of course, I did use grip gear as well, lots of negative fill, a few pop-outs of silk diffusion, and a few little cutter flags. Now, over on the Dog Times Patreon, I did an entire pre-production episode talking about the process, preparing for this crazy little shoot, and as I revealed over there, I was very hesitant to bring only these 3 little lights, and even though it was a challenge on the day, looking back at the finished product now, I can say that 1, I'm super proud of my talented cast and crew, and 2, I can confidently say that you can, in fact, light a narrative scene using only 3 of these little Godox S30 lights. Now, while you're watching this behind the scenes footage, do keep in mind this was a super low budget DIY kind of project, a very last minute casting and crew assembly, but man, do I feel blessed to have such a talented group of people to volunteer their time to me, especially in our current state of affairs. So many thanks to all of you, and you all know who you are. Now, I had originally intended to share the final cut with all of you, but it just so happens that Film Riot is doing their little 2020 proof of concept film competition right now, so I thought, what perfect timing is that? Why not submit this little short that I literally just wrote, shot, and directed? But I don't want to let you all down, so we still are going to look at a couple quickly graded screen grabs and a few of the shot designs, and we can start breaking this down right now. This was the original idea from the pre-production process. For all my Patreon peeps, they've already seen this like 2 weeks ago. But okay, so here we are. As you can see, setup 1, the opening dolly shot here. So we lived on the dolly all day long. I had my good friend Thomas there. He is a professional first AC. I mean, that's his main gig. He works on a lot of films and television shows. So I just got blessed that he came out and pulled focus for me for free. So that was pretty amazing. So yeah, I just lived on my dolly all day long. I've done a whole video on the Rig Wheels dolly, by the way. I love it. It's an amazing tool. So this is just the breakdown of how our gentleman here in the red here, he walks in the door. This second position here, he puts his hat on a little wall partition, walks over here. Instead of his chair being here, in the real shoot on the day, the chair got moved here, and then he walks and sits down here. So basically that is the straight dolly move. We started on the desk, and then as he came in, we slowly, creep over, and we stay with him while he puts his hat down. As he walks to the chair, we dolly, and then he sits down, and I dolly behind him, and he whips out some photos, and then we rack focus to the photos, and then his assistant comes out of this door right here and says some stuff, so then we rack to her when she comes out. Then she leaves, then we rack back to him. So it's a nice profile shot of him when he's in the chair. So this was the original idea, right? Well, when we got there, what basically ended up happening is we didn't have quite enough space as we had originally thought. So my dolly is only 6 feet of track, but it still wasn't quite long enough to get all the way around on the side that I was going for. Because see, in this drawing, I'm over here on the what would be his right shoulder. Well, the reason why I was doing that is because this right here, down here where it says shears, there were shears over this big sliding glass door window, right? And as you can see, the sun's over here. Well, I had used the Helios app, and it is much more advantageous than the Sunseeker app, right? The Helios app I was able to look at this particular location on the day and see that the sun never goes on the back side of the house. So I was like, oh, that's wonderful. We'll never have crazy hard lighting. I can use this sliding glass window as our main key light. We took 2 Matthews combo stands and put them outside there, and I had this huge of diffusion silk. And so we put that on the combo stands and put that in front of the window. Well, the problem was when we got inside, we realized, oh, shoot, the dolly is too long for what I'm trying to do. So I ended up having to live on his left shoulder. So that kind of killed me. Now, the reason why I was trying to get over to this side, because I was planning on using this big window as our main soft key light, since the 3 Godox S30s are all hard light sources. Now, if you saw part 1 of this video series, you already know about that, how hard lights are and all of that. I was like, damn, because you would usually want to use a nice soft light as your key light. Well, the fact that I set myself up kind of for a disaster by bringing only 3 hard lights with me, I thought I was going to be tricky and use the window as my soft key light. However, that didn't happen because the track was too long for this tight space. This room, I drew it much bigger than what it actually is. So I could only make it to about right here. So we actually started right here, and then I was able to go this far, and then turn around and land. So we're going from here, we're starting sharp on the desk, and then we rack to our guys. He comes in the door, and then we come here and we stay on his left shoulder. So I never was able to get around to the side that I wanted to be on because I always tried to shoot on the shadow side. I've talked about that before in past videos. Certainly we talk about it every week on the Dog Times Patreon. I'm sure any other skilled cinematographer that you follow or listen to, that is generally what they try to do, right? So now all of a sudden, crap. So then what I ended up having to do is flip the world. So now we had duvetine all along here. So if you're watching my cursor right here, this ended up all being duvetine. So then I had to use the actual sunlight along with the Godox S30s as the key side, because instead of my camera being here where the number 3 position is, it was more about right here next to my guy on what would be his left shoulder, okay? So, but this was really the setup. Other than that, other than having to put the duvetine over here, and I only had it about halfway because I wanted a little bit of the light to leak through. Over here, you'll notice these windows, it says ND gel. That's because I have a huge roll of 0.9 ND gel that I keep with me, and so we just put some ND gel in these windows. I think this one we ended up blacking out entirely, but there was ND gel on this one. There were actual really cool wooden shutters on these windows that you can see from the actual location pictures. So that was cool. That was going to be motivation for my gobo light for the one S30 that has the spotlight projector attachment on it, right? This is an original piece that I wrote specifically because I wrote this wanting to do a neo-noir piece because I knew the Godox S30 kit was all hard lighting. It was kind of my idea to kind of say, hey, you can use only these lights, right? But you got to be a little strategic with it. Other than that, this is the exact placement of our lights. We had one Godox out here shooting through the shutters. So that was kind of helping him out when he stops here to put his hat right here, if you watch my cursor. So this light over here was shooting in here, pinging him as he puts his hat down. That's kind of helping in a nice backlight with him because we started at 6:30 a.m. We probably started rolling around 7:45, 8 a.m. So the light, wasn't as hugely prominent as it would be around, say, 10 or 11 a.m. So I was just helping the sun out by putting one of those Godox S30s through the window there. And again, even though it was on battery, it was super strong. I put a scrim in it even, and we had a little cutter flag because it was hitting there's too much spill on the wall here. So the little cutter flag was helping kill the light on the wall. And then we had another Godox S30 down here in the hallway. And that was helping, backlight him when he's over in this area. And then the Venetian blinds effect, we see it play throughout. What was really helping us out with this location, you can see this mirror. I mean, it was so amazing. Big, huge mirror like this, so much depth, right? And he's in here, and you can see the Godox light is pushing through this window. These Venetian blinds, or whatever, these are actual wooden blinds, actually. It has a really nice aesthetic. And it's pushing through here. And here you can see where the wall, I was having to flag it off with a cutter outside on that little Godox S30. I lit this candle just because why not, right? We should have actually plugged in this lamp. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm going, shoot, why didn't I plug in this lamp? That would have been kind of nice to have a little practical there. We did use it later on, as you'll see on his actual coverage when he's in the scene. We're still shooting the shadow. We're getting this nice thing. What's giving us his hair light is the actual hallway practical. We left it on, okay? And the white balance here was 3600 Kelvin. I'm shooting on the Pocket 4K at 400 ISO, 24 frames per second with my Contax Zeiss Simod lens. This is the 35mm actually for this opening wide. We went on the 35mm, so this is an f2.8 with a quarter classic soft. Okay, and this was all one continuous shot, just like you saw in the shot design. So obviously, as he's walking towards me, there you can see the practical on in the hallway there. We're still getting all this wonderful depth in the mirror behind him. That the Godox that I showed you down in the hallway, that's what's helping, you know, give him this kicker light on his shoulder and on the upper side of his face. And we're still got a little bit of a nice shadow side. But yeah, it's teetering towards flat light, but it is what it is. So now he sat down and I've dollied around him. Like I said, I originally thought I was going to land on his right shoulder. Instead, because of the limits of the limitations of the small room, I had to stay on his left shoulder. And here you'll see, these are prop photos that I actually printed out and found. I have a subscription to Element and Vado. It's actually really good for like stock photo and stock footage and things like that. And it also has lots of cool sound effects and stuff like that if you're interested in that. Graphics, stuff like that. Anyways, this is what's going on here. Here you can see everything that diffused outside light is doing through our sliding glass window out there. You can see it's hitting the side of this cup. We just got lucky. This old desk, this typewriter, this old all this stuff on the desk, it was just there on the day. So we really got lucky with that. Yeah, and so I just, you know, I try my best to maintain, you know, shooting the shadow side, and I think those photos really pop here. If you look deep in there where my cursor is here, this is actually a kitchen, but it's supposed to be like, you know, kind of like his secretary's room, or office rather. And so to make it not revealed to be a kitchen, we just hung a huge sheet of duvetine on a C-stand arm back there. But you'll see this is very different than what we actually ended up doing, because again, here you'll see this is from the pre-production phase, setup 3, over Daring. Daring is our gentleman's, the character's name, Detective B.B. Daring. and so this little, my camera B here is on, you know, as we already stated, it's actually now living over here on his left shoulder. So this whole world, if you just think of this as flipped, this guy right here, this is the S30 with the spotlight projector attachment on it with the Venetian gobo blinds. It was actually back over here, just shooting across, hitting this wall, and it was hitting our actress's face. So the antagonist, Miss Beverly, this is her standing here. And then there's various moments throughout the film, the little micro short film, a little scene, I guess. His little secretary lady here, she pokes her head through this door. But in the screen grab I'm about to show you, she's not in it. It's just about our antagonist, Miss Beverly, standing here at the desk while he's sitting down. What I ended up doing to get more of a soft beauty light on her, I brought in both those S30s and put them about right back here. And then I took one of my big 5x7 pop-out diffusion silks and brought it very close to her and just let both those S30s shine into that diffusion to kind of spread it out and get a nice soft light on her, because, you know, the camera is not where it's drawn here, it's actually over here. So here you can see what I'm talking about. So there you can actually see the duvetine, right? It just looks maybe, hopefully, just like a black wall, but that's actually a big sheet of duvetine hanging from a C-stand arm back there. And then along here is the negative fill. So that's what's providing all this shadow on our shadow side that we're shooting into. And then over here, you know, is coming in both those S30s splashing into that big 5x7 pop-out silk diffusion. Here you can see it's very subtle on her face and on her neck here, but you can really see it on the wall, the Venetian blinds effect. And, you know, I was just kind of shooting that wherever, because I'm like, well, the motivation is the actual wooden blinds that we saw in the big opening wide shot, right? And of course, this is the back of our detective's head here. Now, this wall was kind of a bummer. It was just like, you never want to shoot into these boring white walls, but we did our best, and we had the house owner, you know, we were just asking her for something to put on the wall to break it up a little bit, so she brought out this little, I don't know what this is, just this little kind of art piece here, and just hung it on the wall. So yeah, that's literally the coverage of our girl. And the reason why we wanted to get that big, nice, soft light with both the S30s is just because the little soft boxes that come with the S30 kit, they are nice. They have little honeycomb grids, but they're just not large enough. So with that big 5x7 pop-out silk diffusion, it just really helps spread the light. And with both those S30s plowing into it, and I had them ripped open at the full 55-degree beam angle, which really helps spread it even more when they hit that pop-out silk. And I just brought the silk as close as I could and backed those lights off far back as I could. The room was actually very small. There was a lot more stuff in there than what we had anticipated. And yeah, so now here you can see more of his world. Now he, you know, his background, his world is, you know, definitely the more interesting of the looks, just because there's a lot more going on back here. It's more aesthetically pleasing than like a boring white wall with some kind of tapestry hanging on it, right? But again, she's the antagonist and he's our hero, so we made do with it. Now, again, I want to point out that we lived on the dolly all day, so while you're looking at these screen grabs, it wasn't just like sitting on sticks, you know, we were pushing in and out. Now, what's giving him this little bit of this hair light on the back of his head here is because I had a big wall of duvetine hanging in that space on camera side, and I went over there and I just made a little gap in between two of the sheets of duvetine, you know, just by pulling one C-stand back about 6 inches, and that just allowed enough little light to leak in there and just to, you know, give him that little bit of a hair light, make him pop a little bit. Yeah, we got a lot of foreground. This here is our woman's purse, and this is his drink. He drinks out of this at one point, and here's the typewriter down here. And yeah, and this is the interesting background back here. Now here is where we did take that lamp that you saw in the opening shot and we put it back here on the shelf, and that's like what's kind of helping out with the level back here, you know, and selling more of that interesting sunshine look. So after we find out from Film Riot that we officially lost, we will revisit this, and I will end up posting the entire completed video right here on the channel as well as over on my Vimeo. Now, if you're into today's video, over on the Dog Times Patreon, there's a way longer, more in-depth breakdown of this little shoot. That's kind of what we do over there. It's a lot of behind the scenes, looking at shot designs, pre-production plans, discussing what worked, what didn't work, and what to do better to prepare for next time. We analyze jobs that I shoot, whether they're passion projects or hired gigs that I've been hired to DP on, as well as we look at jobs that are submitted by the group. So not only does the Patreon allow me to continue to make content for YouTube, but I also post things over there that aren't available anywhere else. What I like about it is we have a little private group chat going on over on the Discord, so it kind of brings a little clubhouse feel to it. So here's the link to check that out, as well as it's posted down in the description below. And if you do end up joining the Patreon, just know that I truly appreciate the support. I'll be talking to you almost daily on the Discord channel, as well as every Monday I put out an exclusive Patreon-only video. And right now, I want to give a big shout out to all my members of the Dog Times Patreon. These are the names you see on the screen. So here's the last words on the Godox S30s. I love them. After the little shoot I did last week, I still stay true to what I said in last week's video. The versatility of the Godox S30 Kit is unmatched. The reality is, if you're shooting in a small enough location that is self-contained and you have complete control of your lighting, or you have enough grip gear to control your lighting, then yeah, as I found out on my little shoot last week, you can get by with only this Godox S30 light kit. However, if you are on a bigger production that requires high key lighting, or you are in a situation where you don't have so much control over your lighting conditions, maybe you're hurting for grip gear that you have available to you, then I would recommend using a much larger light source. Where these little lights really shine is the special effects you can create with the spotlight projector attachment and all of its accessories. But the S30s on their own with the Barndoors make an excellent edge light for adding separation to the foreground and allowing your talent to pop off screen. And they also serve as nice little background lights to create dynamic layers in your shot. And I also want to point out, Godox provides lots of different purchase options, so you don't have to buy the entire 3-piece kit. In fact, the one thing I'm not impressed with the whole kit is these light stands. So after working with these Godox light stands on my little 7-hour shoot, I just found these little stands to be way too flimsy. Whenever I go over and adjust the level on the lamp, the entire stand would just wobble like crazy. And the higher you have it rigged up, the more wobble you introduce, even when using it with sandbags. So I would say, I would recommend probably not using the light stands at all if you do get the whole kit, and just kind of investing in some better stands. However, if you're not interested in the entire 3-piece kit, I would highly recommend just getting one of these S30s with the spotlight projector attachment and all of its accessories. Because, and here is what I think is the coolest part, I found this recently, and I did share it over on the Dog Times Discord already, and members in the group have already started using it. This is a little adapter that Godox makes and sells for only $45. This allows you to throw the spotlight projector attachment onto any Bowens mount light, such as the Godox SL60 or the Godox 150, or pretty much any Bowens mount light you have, even something like my Aperture 300D. So here you'll see I have my Aperture 300D. Godox, please forgive me, I literally don't own any other Godox lights except for the S30s, but here you'll see I took the Godox $45 adapter, put it on the 300D, and then I have attached the Godox Spotlight projector attachment. Now, when I combine this badass light with the iris, the framing shutters, and the gobo holder, I will have one very powerful Leica style light. So as always, there's links down in the description below so you can check all this stuff out for yourselves.
People wanna talk that talk in reality. You have not seen me in action. You think the come up comes overnight. You ain't behind the scenes. Trust me, these things don't just happen. No shade to Gerald, but G's don't come easy when you tryna eat out producing and rapping. I read that contract you sent me to sign, but excuse me, I can't help myself, I'm just laughing. Hey, you tryna cut out a piece of my pie, and I asked you politely, what's it that you offer me? Yeah, I produce all my own beats, and I have no intention of losing my publisher. Yeah, independent individual, boy, I've been eating off passive residuals. Yeah, let's be professional. Thanks for your time, but I had to decline at that principle. I've been scheming up a plan, hey. I've been saving all I can, hey. You could call me David Ramsey. The way I handle these bands, hey. We ain't messing with the old model. New era, new kid, we full throttle. Just know that the come up is not a fluke. My amigos, they focus, know what to do. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it.